That music can only mean one thing. We are approaching the time where we need to do heroes and the villains. Now, this is the rule of the game, right? We have 2 heroes and 2 villains, which we nominate.
Yes.
I see you've just reached for some of your journalistic activity.
No, not at all.
So I hope that you're prepared well for it.
I'm well prepared.
Behind the glass...
I had these done before the show started.
Oh, what? What, your heroes and villains?
Yes, yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Well, we've got Rita, we've got Sam, we've got Kat behind the glass, right?
Right.
They're going to judge between the 3 of them in a very democratic way precisely who should win.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go first with one of your heroes or one of your villains, whichever way you want to do it.
I'll go first with one of my villains.
Okay.
Bob Geldof.
Oh, how boring is that?
No, it's not boring. It's absolutely precise.
That's terribly boring.
It's not terribly boring
We
at all.
spent the first half hour of the show talking about Bob Geldof.
And does that mean we've got to ignore the fact that he is the villain of the piece at the moment?
I think you should be a little bit more intelligent.
No, if I did that, I would have been ignoring my responsibilities to let the world know that we won't put up with this sort of hypocrisy and sanctimonious pap that Bob Geldof comes out on a regular basis.
Sanctimonious people.
Yeah, I do not like sanctimonious people. So it's Bob Geldof, and it doesn't need any explanation.
What do you mean it doesn't need an explanation?
Well, I've just told you why.
Well, I think you need to explain it.
Sanctimonious, right?
Well, you do. I realise we're doing a 3-hour radio show, right?
Procrastinated.
So you can't just go, oh, it's Bob Geldof, I'm not going to give you a reason why.
Everybody knows the reason why, because we spent the first hour of the show telling people
why. Maybe people are listening now.
Bob Geldof, because he's pompous, arrogant...
Tick.
Sorry?
Tick.
What did you say?
Tick.
Tick.
I'm ticking off the things that you're saying.
Yeah, okay. And frankly, a bore who is disliked by the people of Ireland, disliked by the people of Great Britain.
It sounds like you're describing yourself.
I'm not sure who likes him anywhere in the world. Don't know why he gets involved in trying to tell us things like, the soul of the human being is not with us, and all that kind of terrific trash. In fact, his exact quote was, and I'll tell you now, what is this contagion in our souls?
Contagion.
Yeah, exactly. For that, he's got to be a villain.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be slightly more adventurous and imaginative, okay?
Yes.
Because I'm going to go the other way on it for those people who weren't able to listen to what we did at the beginning of the show. I'm going to make my hero my first nomination, and my hero is John Kearns. Who is, of course, the editor of the Irish Daily Mirror.
Well, that was from the same story.
No, but he brought the story...
Don't accuse me of being boring if you're not.
No, but he brought the story to life in a way that you, describing what Bob Geldof had said to somebody else, didn't do. And that's why my nomination for John Kearns as a hero is far more relevant to the show that we're doing, far more relevant to the radio station that we're on, and far more relevant to the way that the people of Dublin have reacted to what Bob Geldof has said, because everybody knows what Geldof said. Everybody's read about it in the papers. Everybody's seen him on TV. So all you've done, really, is come to the story a day late and $1 short. So what I'm telling you is that John Kearns as a hero is far better as a nomination than Bob Geldof as a villain.
Yeah, well, okay, you say that.
I do.
Now, I'm going to go for my first hero.
Your first hero.
And my first hero is...
Yes.
Paddington Bear.
Paddington Bear.
Without a shadow of a doubt, because we got Brian Viner onto a show 2 days ago, was it, or yesterday?
It was last night.
Last night, that's right. And he said this is one of the great films that's ever been made. And Paddington Bear is going to bring unbridled joy to millions of people in the run-up to Christmas.
Paddington
and that's
Bear
what Christmas
2.
is all about, yeah. Paddington Bear 2 is a fantastic film, deserves 100% support, and because of the sheer joy it will bring people, it has to be nominated. Paddington Bear is my first hero.
Paddington Bear is your first hero. Well, that's very interesting. And I suppose some might say it's quite well put together.
Thank you.
But I'm going to say to you that I'm going to go for my first villain, who is in fact the footballer's wife, Rebecca Vardy.
Oh, yes.
Rebecca Vardy, of course, famously married to Jamie Vardy.
Yes.
Who at one point was the homespun hero of everybody who ever wanted to play football in this country. Hollywood was going to make a movie about him after Leicester won the league.
Yes.
He and she were on the cover of Hello magazine every second month.
Yes.
They'd become this showbiz couple. But I'm afraid it's all gone rather wrong.
Right.
She is constantly fighting people on Twitter about things that are said about her. And she's currently fighting the Daily Mirror because they put out a story saying that as she was jetting out to appear in what would apparently be the latest edition of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, filmed in Australia, which starts in the next few days, right? They accused her of having a fake tan, and she went mad and said, how ridiculous is this? I happen to be half Portuguese, and I find it very offensive that they would suggest that I've got some kind of fake tan. She does look a bit orange, right? That's not the point. But the reason that she's become a villain for me is not because of the fake tan, not because of her claiming that she was half Portuguese, but because she said she had a panic attack about going into the jungle because she didn't want to leave her children behind.
Right.
But guess what? She's
Yeah.
going anyway
Yeah.
and leaving her children behind.
Yeah.
And her children are 10-month-old son Finley,
Yeah.
daughter Sophia, aged 3,
Yeah.
who she has with Jamie Vardy.
Yes.
And also she has Megan, 11, and Taylor, 6, from a previous relationship.
Right.
So the 4 children that she has,
Yes.
she's leaving them behind. Now,
Well-
that doesn't necessarily make her a bad mother,
Yes.
but to try and make some big song and dance about the fact that she feels bad
Yes.
about leaving her children behind
Yes.
to go and make a couple of 100,000,
Yes.
I think is hypocritical, to say
Well,
the least.
I think that's quite mean, actually, because I think she's a great role model.
Model
for,
role?
Yeah, role model for
Yeah.
footballers' wives.
Okay.
Because a lot of them, are confused about their role as the wife of a very famous man and a very rich man. She's not. She's got an individual personality. I think she represents herself very well.
You're not here to rebut my nomination.
Well, I think
it's
she's a
not
good
a court
person.
of law.
I think she's a good person, so
Well,
I
I'm
wouldn't
very
agree
happy
with
for
you.
you.
Right, now I'm going to go for my second hero, okay?
Second hero.
My second hero is the England national football manager, Gareth Southgate,
Why?
okay? Because he's
Now,
changed...
I think you're getting confused, right?
No.
Because when we were on Talk Sport
Yeah.
last night,
Yeah.
or the other day, we were doing winners and losers,
Yes.
you did them all from the world of non-sport.
Right.
Now
Yeah,
that you're
okay.
at Talk Radio,
No.
you're doing a sporting one.
Not at all, not at all.
Which seems like you've got it all mixed up around
let,
your
let
ears.
Let me tell you this, because he has actually changed the whole attitude that this country has towards the English national football team. We were all, for years actually, saying how boring friendlies were.
pathetic.
No, it's not. How boring friendlies were and how the England team never excited us. He's suddenly come in. He gave debuts to 5 young footballers.
This is too much sport.
It's not too much
Yeah.
sport because this is a man, Gareth Southgate, who has lifted the national spirit. He gave debuts to 5 young footballers against the world champions, didn't get beaten by them, and has reintroduced the feel-good factor into what is our biggest national sport, which is football. I nominate him as a hero.
Oh,
Right.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to go for as a villain,
Yeah.
and that is obvious, and I think everybody will agree with this one. It is, of course, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who sent the
Donald
most
Trump's
ridiculous
the President
tweet.
of the United States of America.
He is the.
He doesn't have a lot to do with this country.
He has, oh,
Yeah.
really? Well, he
Yeah.
is the President of the United States of America. However, he is an international figure and therefore has an awful lot to do with this country. By the way,
Yes.
he's coming here on a visit to see Theresa May not too long ago from now. But the reason he's a villain is because of the way that he was cozying up
Yes.
to the President of the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Who is a guy who has completely and utterly admitted that he himself has murdered people in the name of the government in
Right.
order to stop the spread of drug gangs, which,
Right.
of course, in the Philippines, it's not actually working anyway because
Okay.
there's still an awful lot of them.
Yes.
But Mr. Duterte,
Yeah.
and he was shaking hands in an old lang syne kind of a way.
Yes.
And Donald Trump is a bit of a sort of figure of fun to some people, but this time I think he's gone over a bit too far.
Yeah.
He's not just calling Kim Jong Un, fat and and short.
Yes.
He's now shaking hands with an admitted mass murderer,
Yeah,
which
right.
seems ludicrous to me.
Okay, okay.
So that's my second villain.
Okay, well, my second villain is, get this,
Who?
John Lewis.
John Lewis.
I think their TV advert is so ghastly, so rubbish.
Yeah.
A monster
'cause you're a
hiding
big
under the
Beatles
bed.
fan.
A monster hiding under the bed.
Monster called Moz.
Yeah, a monster called Moz hiding under the bed, which is 10 times the size of the bed. So I don't know how the monster gets under the bed, and I can't work how it gets out again. It's a horrible.
Well, you're supposed to suspend your disbelief.
It's a horrible, ghastly monster, right? And it doesn't have any endearing qualities whatsoever. But you're quite right. Another reason why I think John Lewis are an absolute villain this week is that the song that is played along the top of it is the worst version of a Beatles cover song, that I've ever heard in
Well,
my
the thing
life.
that's bad about it is
Yeah.
that it doesn't actually move into the carry that weight
No,
bit, does it?
no, it doesn't.
So it sounds like it's half a kind of song, doesn't it?
The chorus for it, boy, you're gonna carry that weight, is not even there.
Hmm.
So you don't even, younger people who've not, been brought up with the Beatles won't even know, and they'll think, God, what a horrible little ditty that is, without it knowing it's one of the great songs of all times, written by the great composers of all times. John Lewis, villain.
John Lewis, I think. Well, I would say that as a villain. Now, my final one is actually not so much of a sports hero, but a broadcasting hero, and it's Tim Gudgeon. And I'm going to say his
Gudgeon.
name to you, as I'm sure you would recognise it. I
Yeah.
don't know whether you would,
Yeah.
but this is a guy who was the longest ever serving voice of the Saturday results program. Do you remember how what is
John
now
Gudgeon,
called
yes.
now called Final Score? He retired a week before his 82nd birthday in 2011 because it was decided that they wanted to relocate everybody to Salford, and he thought at the age of 82 is a bit too old to do that.
Right.
But you might remember listening to the football results all those years ago, and you would recognise his voice if you heard it, I'm sure. He joined Grandstand in 1976. He used to read out the horse racing and rugby results until 1995, and then he did the same for the football results.
Right.
And he did it for decades and decades and decades, and he was a great character. And so he's my sort of good guy. Second of all, sadly passed away at the age of 87.
Okay, always very sad to hear that a fellow professional has passed away.
So those are my two heroes and my two villains.
Okay.
We've heard yours. The decision will now be made behind the glass, and we'll be informed of it before the end of the show.
I have to say, I genuinely believe that mine were of greater quality. I genuinely do.
Oh, really?
And I'm not just saying that because it's me, but I think if you analyse it, my choices were.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, we are working in a red-hot kind of atmosphere here because I've just been informed that the voting has already taken place.
Right, okay.
And the judges are ready.
Right, the judges are ready. Great.
What can you tell us, judges?
So after a considerable deliberation, we have come to the conclusion that Mike Perry has it.
Thank you very much.
The #1 villain today has been John Lewis. We all agree that cover by Elbow, I think, is absolute tat.
Dreadful.
Dreadful.
He hasn't paid you, has he? He doesn't normally
No.
He doesn't normally win, you see.
But thank you very much indeed to the judges for their brilliant assessment of the heroes and villains. That puts me in the lead, of course.
It does.
7-6.
Makes it 7-6.
7-6. And I firmly believe that now that I've got my nose in front, a sprint is going to turn into a walk is going to turn into a sprint as I head for the.
You better be careful about sprinting because, of course, only 1/3 of your heart works.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. As I head for the finishing line.
Indeed.